Well, I splurged this month and I spent a little money on equipment. I went online to learn about soldering because I've never soldered successfully. I've tried a few years ago and I failed utterly, and I smoked up the cabin and I couldn't breathe. But this time I did it outside. I had a fan by my side. I learned the necessity of using lead-based solder. It's the best. Um, and I didn't solder wires. That'll be my next trick, but I don't have the money to buy stranded wire and wire cutters, so I gotta wait, or wire strippers for that matter. So I gotta wait. But I had bought a packet of little tiny circuit boards and resistors, and so I tried soldering resistors using the video online on YouTube. Chris Fix. So he had a video. No, he did soldering wire, stranded wire. Somebody else, I think an Australian guy, had circuit boards. So I did a pretty good job. In fact, my first one was the best. And then I rushed it trying to do a lot, and that's when I botched up one. It was really disgusting. I could smell the board, I was burning the board, and it looks it too. And it's not a good connection. I haven't tested the connections yet, but I did. All the others were pretty good. I'm impressed that I did such a good job this time. I was very careful. I had all the equipment. I had a fan by me, and I had the setting on the soldering iron set all the way to the top, so as to minimize the amount of impatience I had to, wait for the solder to melt. And I learned what it takes to make a good solder. It's almost like sculpting, really, because you're sculpting the wet, the molten solder into a specific shape. I didn't know that. So I went for that shape, and it came out good. A little bigger than Chris Fix's, soldering joints. A little excessive solder by comparison to him, but it wasn't excessive from my point of view. It was pretty good. The one I botched, that was excessive, because I kept waiting for it to do its thing. But you have to control it. You got to tell it where to go. I want you to go here. I want you to go there. Don't go there, but go this way. You got to tell it. I didn't know. What did I know? The first time. So I'm happy. One session. I've been putting this off because I've been afraid. Oh, I don't know how to solder. Oh, and it went so well. It was slick and dick. So I know exactly what I'm going to plan on doing. And how I'm going to go about doing it. I had a little walk beforehand to get up my hopes, and it worked out in my head without any effort, my plan, because I'm pretty finished in writing. I did the simulating some time ago, and I did do changes and upgrades even more recently, a few weeks ago, but and I surprised myself. I made the circuit so much easier to put together. But I was looking for perfection because I don't want to have to bumble and stumble. It'll be enough just putting it together. I don't want to have to put it together a circuit and find out it doesn't work. Maybe it doesn't put out the power I expect. Fine, I can tweak that. I can expect that because there are little unforeseeable technicalities. But it should give me in the ballpark of what I expect, and I have the same expectations as to what Nikola Tesla had of himself, only he had better results than me, I would imagine. But he simulated it in his brain to such a degree that it worked the first time every time when he built it on the bench. When he told his lab technicians to build it for him, he didn't even have to build it himself, just followed the directions, and it worked. First time every time. So that's what I want. I'd rather spend all the time simulating, and then I get all the criticisms. Oh, don't believe in the simulator. Well, I have to. What else am I going to go on? I have no training. So I trust the simulator implicitly. And if I lose my trust, then I move on to a different simulator, which is what I've done. Microcap is excellent. From Spectrum-Soft, a little dash, Spectrum-Soft, SpectrumSoft.com. Very good. If you can afford it, I'm using the cheap demo version, so I have to keep my circuit simulation simple. But I don't have to fumble and stumble when it comes time to build, because I know it'll be a waste of my time and patience. I'm too old to have any patience for this sort of thing, you know. If I don't get it right the first time, I'm going to want to give up right away. Very short attention, very little tolerance for failure here at this point. But on the simulator, I got all the failure aside. I went tons of failure, you know, by comparison to my successes. I don't show you all the failures because it's massive, you know. It's tremendous. But I got through it. And that's where I want my failures to be. Only there. I don't want it in the physical plane. I don't have the patience for this sort of thing. It's got to work. That's why I've been putting it off. It's like, I've been scared. I have a failure complex here. I don't take failure very well. Not at this point. If you've known from my other videos what I've been through in the last 10 years, then you'd know why. I have no room for failure anymore. So it's got to be all in the virtual realm of thought and ideation, you know. Nothing to do with the real world. So I'm amazed that I got this right, and so I'm really pumped. And now I have to wait for money to come so I can buy the stuff I need, the components. I've already made a shopping list, and I even put it, you know, where you put things in your cart and then you save it for later. Well, that's what I did, and so I've got all the parts pretty much. You know, I need various things. I won't enumerate them. Buy the book on Amazon.com/author/Vinyasi or payhip.com. It's payhip.com/Vinyasi. It's a little cheaper, about half price, more or less. But no, buy the book and send me some money. Anywho, yeah, I'm pumped. Can you tell? Can you tell? Can you tell? I'm pumped. Oh, I took a little while to arrange my, you know, I put on pants that are so long they go down and then some, so that because when I sat down, my pants leg, the cuff came up, and the soldering iron was right over my ankle, so I thought, I want some protection down there. I don't want any bare skin. So no matter, I got holes in my knees as big as a wall, you know, as big as a door. But down by my shins and my ankles, I better have protection. So I have some Levi jeans I was wearing. And I had plastic gloves and plastic eyeglasses, and a fan. And a soldering iron I bought 5 years ago when I first tried to solder. And I got Walmart Walmart lead-based solder. Or did I get... No, I got it from Walmart. That's right. So I don't even know the rosin content. On my shopping list, I have the correct solder and rosin that Chris Fix recommends. So, and then I just got a packet of whatever of resistors. I don't know. It didn't matter. And since I've done circuit boards before, that's nothing new. And I've done circuits, I just never have soldered. You know, I've done everything but solder. I've used masking tapes, saran wrap to hold it in place. That when I did a Hulda Clark zapper, and I had a project case, and I drilled holes in it. Oh, I was professional as far as I could go. But you couldn't see the circuit, right? It was covered in masking tape and saran wrap underneath that to hold everything in place. But it worked. And then the other time, let's see, what did I do? Oh, well, I used those, what do they call them? They're perforated boards that you punch the circuit in, or I mean the components into, and it holds it. So it's a temporary, I forget what they're called. They're temporary boards, so you can rearrange it without, you know, making a soldered connection because you're not sure what you're going to do. But I'm sure I know what I'm going to do because I have already done it on the simulator. I may not know the exact value of components. You know, that could. So maybe I should go for a little board. That's true. I better add that to my list. See, it's always good I talk this out. So yeah, I should get one of those temporary boards, whatever they're called. And of course I need wire cutters and wire strippers, and then I still have to solder stranded wire because I am going to have to, in fact, I'm going to have to do solid core soldering as well because I'm going to have to get let's see, the specification on for some of the connections on the circuit require 10 Og, which is pretty hefty wire. At one point on the older model of simulation I had 15, but this time I've gone down to 10, and I have several segments of that connecting various parts of the arrangement together. And then on other areas of the circuit I don't need that kind of gauge wire. I can go, I'm going to use, I'm going to have two types of wire. I'm going to have 30 and 10. No, 40, excuse me. 40 and 10. Yeah. Because I need thin, well, I don't have to go 40. Well, at least, you know, minimum girth of 40. I could use 30 instead. You know, it wouldn't hurt. Or 28, you know. But certain sections, they have to be wide. The resistance has to be low. It's an area of positive resistance, while other areas of the circuit can go 40 gauge, because I need the resistance, in fact, in those areas, because it's negative. It's areas of negative resistance, you know. So I need the added resistance. But other areas, I do not need the resistance. So the wire gauge has to go way down. To match, the gauge of wire I'm assuming is the starter coil, because I'm going to be, you know, this is going to be an AC induction motor situation that I'm going to adapt to my needs, and so I'm guessing the starter coil wire is 10 gauge. It could be greater, but my simulation calls for 10, so I'm good with 10. So I still have to get various parts, but I got a plan, and I even have a business plan, so a little marketing plan. So I managed to figure that one out, and I'll probably, it'll be good, whatever, whatever it is. I better not say it'll be good, and something scaled down to fit my budget, because I am living hand to mouth, so I cannot afford anything expensive. This is why I've done so much simulating work for that. That's one of my intolerances, is wasting money when I don't have the money to waste. But I also don't have patience either. So there are a lot of different reasons why I spent so much time on the simulator, until I had enough self-confidence. And now I do. Because a couple of weeks ago I came up with a version of circuit that is so easy to put together by comparison to the others. Because originally I worked with, my target was an EV. But I can't start right off with an EV. Obviously, I got to start with something smaller. Mommy would always say, start small. You can always go big later, because I'd always start big, and it would go, you know, and then I'd go, and she'd go, see, I told you so. So she knows me. So I am taking her advice for a change, and I've scaled it down. Oh God, excuse me. You can tell I don't have a habit of taking advice from Mommy. It's one of the few times. So it'll be inexpensive, small scale, and unfortunately it cannot be DC. You know, this is strictly an AC situation. There's no other way to do it. I don't know how to do over unity in a DC situation. I know it can be done. People have done it. I trust their story, you know, but I cannot. I don't have the wherewithal to come up with anything of that sort. It could be a DC output, but the internals have to be AC. There's no way around that. I've never been able to do it any other way. Which is okay, if I gotta live with that, you know, that's life. Gotta live with my limitations. That thought comes to mind once in a while. I have to live within my limitations, and it's a famous saying by Clint Eastwood in the movie Outlaw Josie Wales from 1976 or whatever it is. A man has got to learn to live within his limitations. Yes, well, that's good advice. The transcendent is one thing, but when you come out here, it's like, okay, I'm not wealthy, I'm not formally trained, I'm just barely can solder. The only equation I know is Ohm's law, and believe me, I don't want to learn any others. One's bad enough. So One is bad enough. I wouldn't want to know more than that, trust me. I don't want to know. I want to know as little as possible. Oh, this is terrible. I can tell you theory, right? How things work, because I understand. I've wanted to understand that, but math, oh, forget it. Let's keep things broad-based here. Just cause and effect relationships and archetypal behavior patterns of a wave. That's what I want to know, because that's what's important to me. That's practical. You know, that I can use when I simulate or build, but equations, leave that to the simulator and the pocket calculator. I don't want to deal with that. I studied stuff that was mathematical, but it was number theory, and that was 20 years ago. But I still don't have trigonometry memorized. You know, I have to look it up, and I barely know algebra. So I like Eric Dollard when he says that's all you need is algebra. Well, a certain variety of algebra. That's cool. Not that I understand the particulars. You know, it's good that I barely get the generic broad stuff that he talks about, but at least I can appreciate it. Sorry, I got a little itch. What else? I'm so pumped. Can you tell? I'm pumped. I was putting this off, and I didn't. If I had a flag, I'd wave it. You know, things like da, 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 da. Marching band, Sousa, bring out the Sousa. You know, if you're old enough to know who Sousa is. Okay, I better sign off. You're probably tired of listening to me. You probably have gone and switched channels already by now. All right, toodaloo. A little update and correction. Only 2 of the 4 resistors that I managed to solder, one of them I know is a bad connection, and yes, it's not connected, but another one was too, so I only did 2 out of 4. 50%. Okay, I got a learning curve, but at least they're shapely. And I only burned 1 of the 8 connections, so I'd say that's pretty good for a first day. Acceptable. I pass. Give myself a C. C+.